No one expected the night to unravel the way it did. What began as a quiet conversation behind closed doors turned into the kind of scandal that fans replay in their minds for days. The first sign of trouble came when Mendeecees stepped out of his car with a look that suggested he was carrying more than frustration. He looked like a man who had reached the edge of silence. Rumors had been circling for weeks, but no one imagined he would be the one to push the truth into the open. The moment he walked into the studio, people sensed a shift in the air. Something was about to break, and it would hit the love and hip-hop circle harder than any storyline they had ever pretended to handle. What happened next spread like sparks on dry grass. A voice note appeared online, and within minutes the feeds were packed with comments. Fans were shocked, uncertain if the voice in the clip belonged to Mendeecees or someone impersonating him. But the tone was unmistakable, a man tired of protecting people who had crossed too many lines. The message hinted at Kirk and Kendra hiding something that would not only shake their marriage, but tear open old wounds that Rasheeda had fought to keep buried. As the speculation grew, emotions ran high. Supporters defended their favorites, while critics sharpened their accusations. The family was left divided before the truth had even fully surfaced. Inside the studio, cameras caught the tension rising. Mendeecees leaned forward, lowered his voice, and repeated the words that everyone in the room would bring up later. He said he was done covering for people who had twisted the truth to save their own reputations. He claimed that Kirk and Kendra's secret had gone too far and that Rasheeda deserved to know what had been hiding in the shadows. No one breathed. The silence was so heavy it pressed against the walls. One producer stepped back, unsure whether to stop the taping or let the revelation unfold. Across the city, Rasheeda was finishing an event when her phone began buzzing nonstop. She picked it up, confused, then paused as she read the first message. The look on her face changed. Her assistant tried asking what was wrong, but she simply turned away. By the fifth message, she sat down, her expression tightening. Whatever people were sending her was not gossip she could ignore. It reached deeper than that. It touched a part of her marriage she had tried to protect over the years, even when cracks showed through public smiles. Meanwhile, Kirk and Kendra were nowhere to be seen, which only fueled the storm. Comment sections filled with theories. Some said they had been planning to speak out. Others insisted they were scrambling to hide details before Mendeecees revealed everything. The suspense curled around the situation like a warning. Something real was coming to the surface. Something that would turn alliances inside out. Fans watched every update, sensing they were moments from a turning point. Whatever secret Mendeecees was hinting at, the truth was about to hit harder than anyone expected. The city moved through its usual rhythm, but inside the small circle of people who lived and breathed the world of love and hip-hop, everything felt slightly off. Messages were being exchanged faster than anyone could track, and each one carried the same unsettling question about whether Mendeecees had finally decided to spill a secret that Kirk and Kendra had kept buried for months. No one expected him to be the one to speak, especially after the quiet truce they had kept between their families. Yet something had shifted in him. People could see it in the way he walked, the way he spoke, even the way he paused during his interviews, as if he was holding words that refused to stay down any longer. The tension built slowly, almost politely at first, the kind of pressure that crawled through private phone calls and late-night conversations. It began when someone close to the crew overheard Kirk arguing with someone on the phone. The voice was tight and sharp, and even though Kirk tried to step away, the words carried farther than he intended. The person who heard the argument said Kirk kept repeating one name, a name fans had not heard in years. It was the name that set everything rolling downhill, because that name had history. And history always finds a way back into the present. Rumors began swirling that the argument was connected to something Kendra had done months ago, something Kirk had agreed to hide. And while everyone knew Kendra was guarded about her personal life, the idea that she and Kirk were hiding something big enough to shake Rasheeda's marriage added fuel to a flame already growing too quickly. What made it worse was how silent they remained. Silence, in this world, was never a shield. It was a beacon that called attention and suspicion. Fans became relentless, dragging old interviews, past behavior, old drama, anything that could hint at the type of secret capable of pulling Rasheeda to a breaking point. Inside his home, Mendeecees sat in the quiet living room, staring at his phone as if the screen might force the truth out of him if he waited long enough. Yandi had already asked him twice if he was sure he wanted to go public. She knew how fast things spiraled in this industry. Once something hit the internet, it traveled with a life of its own, twisting through assumptions, edits, reactions, screenshots, and commentary. But Mendeecees looked tired of holding the weight. He had seen too much and covered for too many people. and this time he felt the consequences creeping toward someone who did not deserve the fallout. He rubbed his hand across the back of his neck and said, "I tried to warn him. I told him not to take it this far. Now it's too late." Yandy glanced over her phone, her voice lower than usual as she spoke. "You know, once you say it out loud, that's it. You can't pull it back." He nodded, but he did not look uncertain. Everyone who walked in and out of that room felt the same truth. Something was coming, something big. Hours later, a private recording session began. The kind where only a small crew was present, and phones were supposed to be locked away. But someone kept theirs hidden. Someone caught the moment Mendeecees pressed his hands together on the table and said he was tired of watching a lie destroy people who thought they were standing on solid ground. The crew looked at him with tight faces. They sensed he had more than frustration in his tone. He had certainty, the kind that comes from someone who has first-hand knowledge. The air changed completely when he said Kirk had crossed the line. Every person in that room stopped moving. A sound technician froze with one earbud halfway out of his ear. The producer lowered his clipboard. A camerawoman shifted her grip as if she needed to steady herself before the words landed. Mendeecees said Kirk and Kendra had been hiding something that went far beyond the usual petty drama. Something that involved a deal, a promise, and a betrayal that directly hit Rasheeda's marriage. He said it in a calm voice, but calm can be far more dangerous than anger. Meanwhile, Rasheeda was preparing for a brand event across town. People saw her glowing under the lights, greeting fans, answering questions, smiling through every photo. She had no idea that her name had become the center of a storm. The moment she stepped off stage, her assistant pushed her phone into her hand. Messages filled the screen, each one more urgent than the last. She clicked the first voice note, then held the phone closer as Mendeecees' voice poured through. Her face tightened. She stopped walking. Even her breathing changed. "What is this?" Being overheard. "I told you this could blow back on us." Kendra pressed her hand to her forehead, trying to steady herself. "We need to talk to Rasheeda before she hears it from someone else." Kirk stopped walking. She already heard it. She's probably watching the clip right now. While the two of them argued in hushed voices, Rasheeda was already in her car, staring at her phone. She played the clip again, searching for context. Something to soften the blow. Something to convince her that she misunderstood. But the words hit harder each time. Mendeecees said Kirk had crossed a line. He said Kendra was not innocent. He said he was done covering for them. Rasheeda's throat tightened. The driver glanced at her through the mirror but said nothing. The silence inside the car felt pressing, as if it had been waiting for this moment. She rubbed her hands together, a quiet attempt to settle herself, and whispered, "Why didn't he tell me anything?" Her voice trembled but carried a thread of anger. She had defended Kirk in public for years, even during the hardest seasons of their marriage. She had stood by him when stories swirled around them. She had insisted they were stronger than the noise. Yet here she was, driving home with a voice note that threatened to undo everything she had worked to protect. The moment her car pulled into the driveway, she didn't step out immediately. She held the phone in her hand and stared at the front door, as if she knew crossing that threshold would change the entire night. The air felt thick, as if the house itself was bracing for the argument that was about to unfold. Before she could gather herself, her phone buzzed again. Another message, then another, then a missed call from someone close to the show. She ignored the call. She needed clarity before she let anyone pull her in different directions. Inside the studio, the crew tightened their circle around Mendeecees. One person asked, "Are you ready for the fallout?" He nodded, though he looked exhausted. "I'm ready for the truth." The producer stepped closer. "You know this is going to drag everyone into it. Every family, every relationship." Mendeecees breathed out slowly. They dragged themselves into it when they tried to hide it. The hallway grew quiet, until one voice broke through with a simple question. "So you're saying the rumor about the divorce is true?" Mendeecees looked up, steady and sure. "I'm saying the secret they kept is the reason people think it is." And those words spread faster than the clip itself. The reaction spread before anyone had time to understand what Mendeecees truly meant. And by the time the clip hit every corner of the internet, people were already convinced that something inside the frostest corners of Kirk and Rasheeda's marriage had finally collapsed. Whispers turned into claims. Claims turned into arguments. And arguments turned into a firestorm that refused to settle down. Inside the studio, Mendeecees leaned against the wall with his arms crossed, staring at the floor as if he was reconsidering everything. But deep down he knew he had passed the point of return. The truth was already out, even if it was only half-spoken. The producer walked toward him again, speaking in a calm but uneasy tone. "People are going to twist your words. They always do." Mendeecees shook his head. "They can twist all they want, but the truth is still the truth. He looked at the doorway where the crew had been whispering. Kirk made his choice. Now he has to deal with it. Outside, the parking lot filled with people stepping out to call their friends, their partners, their cousins, anyone who would listen. The same sentence traveled from one mouth to another. Mendeecees said the secret is the reason people think the divorce is real. And with each retelling, the sentence became heavier, sharper, more final. Even those who had doubted the rumors before started believing that something truly had collapsed between Kirk and Rasheeda. No one questioned whether the words were exaggerated. Exaggeration was a natural language in their world. Across town, Kirk slammed his hand against the kitchen counter hard enough for the sound to bounce through the whole house. Kendra jumped, her nerves stretched thin from hours of tension. "You're not helping," she muttered, trying to keep her voice steady. But Kirk was pacing again, the same tight circles he had been making all day. Each step seemed like a frantic attempt to outrun the truth that was closing in on him. He spun toward her. "You said he didn't know everything." Kendra pressed her lips together. She looked away, and that small hesitation struck Kirk harder than any accusation. "Kendra," he said slowly, almost quietly, "what did you leave out?" Her shoulders stiffened. The air thickened around the question. Kirk stepped closer, lowering his voice. "What did you not tell me?" Kendra didn't answer at first. She walked to the window, her arms crossed tightly. Her breath fogged a small circle on the glass. "I thought it was handled," she whispered. "I thought that person wasn't going to speak." The moment she said the word person, Kirk's stomach dropped. He felt cold. "Who?" he asked, though he already knew it was someone from their past. Someone they had both hoped would disappear from the picture forever. She refused to turn back, toward him. "If I tell you, you're going to blame me for everything." Kirk took a step closer. Then another. "I'm already being blamed for everything," he muttered, frustrated and exhausted. "At least let me know what I'm being blamed for." The pause before her answer stretched long enough to make Kirk's heart race. Then she spoke, her voice low and strained. "It's someone you should have cut ties with years ago." Kirk froze. That sentence led to only one name, a name he had tried to erase from his life, more times than he could count. He rubbed both hands over his face, muttering the name under his breath. "No, please don't tell me it's him." The room felt smaller, the air tighter. Kendra kept her back to him, as she said, "He threatened to go to Rasheeda himself." And that was the moment Kirk realized the situation was far more dangerous than he thought. Someone had been talking. Someone had been feeding information to Mendeecees. Someone had decided that their silence was no longer worth the price. It meant the secret was no longer contained. It meant everything was unraveling. While Kirk stood frozen in the shock of that realization, Rasheeda finally walked into her house, the weight of every message sitting heavy on her shoulders. The house felt unusually quiet. Her steps echoed softly as she moved through the foyer. She called out Kirk's name once, not loudly, but with a tone that carried both fear and fire. No answer. She took another step. Her phone buzzed again. She ignored it. She needed to confront this directly. She needed to understand what she had just heard from Mendeecees. She found a seat at the dining table, resting her phone in front of her, staring at it as if waiting for the truth to rise to the surface. In her mind, she replayed every moment she and Kirk had shared over the past few months. His late-night calls, his sudden trips, his excuses that sounded smooth but never settled right in her gut. Back then she had brushed the doubts aside because she wanted peace. She wanted normalcy. She wanted stability. Now those same doubts returned with claws. Her phone buzzed again, and she finally picked it up to see a message from someone close to the show. Someone who never reached out unless something was truly serious. The message was short. "You need to talk to Mendeecees. He's not lying." Her jaw tightened. She typed back, "What does he know?" But the replies never came. Her contact either backed off or got too scared to continue talking. Whichever it was, the silence that followed spoke louder than any message. Meanwhile, at the studio, the producers gathered in a corner discussing the situation with tight expressions. One of them hinted at the possibility of calling Kirk to get his side. Another argued it would escalate the situation. A third said the show needed this. There. Kirk laughed bitterly. Calm down when Mendeecees is trying to destroy my life." Kendra stared ahead. Maybe he wouldn't have said anything if you hadn't gone behind his back. Kirk felt the words slice through him. "You think this is my fault?" he snapped. Kendra didn't back down. "I think you made choices you didn't think through." Before Kirk could respond, his phone rang. It was someone from production. He answered in a clipped tone. "What?" The voice replied carefully. "Mendeecees is waiting. If you're coming, come prepared." He hung up without answering. Back at the house, Rasheeda finally stood up. She couldn't sit in the silence anymore. She grabbed her purse and walked toward the door. ready to confront Kirk herself. She felt hurt, confused, betrayed, all at once. The voice note played again in her mind. Mendeecees.com tone. His certainty. His statement that Kirk had crossed the line. She needed answers, and she would get them. The streets felt colder as she drove. Traffic lights blinked through her windshield like little warnings she ignored. She didn't care about anything except getting the truth out of him. Her pulse thudded loudly in her ears. The phone buzzed again with messages from fans, friends, and castmates. She ignored every one of them. Meanwhile, Kirk and Kendra pulled up to the studio. The security guard hesitated when he saw Kirk's tense expression, but he opened the gate anyway. They stepped inside, and the moment Kirk walked down the hallway, the crew felt the storm entering the building. He pushed the door open with more force than necessary. Mendeecees looked up, calm and unshaken. Kirk pointed at him. "We need to talk now." Mendeecees didn't move. "We should have talked months ago." Kendra hovered near the doorway, her hands twisting nervously. Kirk stepped closer, lowering his voice but filling it with anger. "You're spreading lies." Mendeecees shook his head. "I didn't lie." Kirk clenched his jaw. "You don't know everything." Mendeecees replied, "I know enough." The tension snapped tighter, filling the room with a pressure so thick it seemed to push against everyone's lungs. Before the confrontation could explode further, another voice cut through the room with sharp clarity. Rasheeda, she had arrived, and she had heard everything. Rasheeda stepped into the studio, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. The room went still. Everyone turned toward her, sensing the storm that had arrived with each step she took. Kirk froze mid-sentence, his anger faltering as he saw her expression equal parts fury, hurt, and disbelief. Kendra's hands trembled slightly, and she pressed them together, silently wishing she could disappear. Mendeecees, however, remained calm, his gaze steady as if he had been expecting this exact moment. "So this is it," Rasheeda said, her voice low but cutting, carrying through the room like a blade. "All this time, this is what's been going on behind my back." Kirk opened his mouth to speak, but words faltered. He swallowed, realizing that nothing he had prepared could fill the space between them now. The phone clips, the leaked messages, Mendeecees.com but damning tone, it all had set the stage. Rasheeda's eyes darted to Mendeecees. "And you," she said, her tone now sharper. "You've been sitting on this the whole time." He did not flinch. "I was trying to protect you, but it got too far," he said. "Kirk made choices. Kendra made choices. You deserved to know the truth." The room felt heavier with each word. Kirk ran a hand through his hair. "Rasheeda, it's not what you think," he started, his voice shaky. Rasheeda's laugh was bitter, echoing through the studio. "Not what I think. Mendeecees just told me everything you've been hiding. Don't talk to me like I'm blind." Her words landed like punches. Kendra bit her lip, unsure whether to defend herself or step aside. She knew there was no defense strong enough to undo the damage. Mendeecees leaned back slightly, observing the storm. "Rasheeda, I didn't want to bring it out here like this," he said, calm, controlled. "But Kirk and Kendra left me no choice." Rasheeda turned sharply toward Kirk, her hands shaking. "Is that true? Did you leave him no choice?" Kirk hesitated, his jaw tight. He opened his mouth, closed it, then whispered, "Yes, I made mistakes. But it wasn't supposed to get this far." She shook her head violently. "Mistakes? Mistakes? You call hiding things from me, from everyone, mistakes?" Her voice cracked. The air vibrated with the tension of every unsaid word that had piled up over months. Kendra finally stepped forward. "Rasheeda, please. I didn't mean for this to happen," she said softly. But Rasheeda ignored her, her gaze locked on Kirk. "I've defended you through every rumor, every lie that came out about us. And now this. All of it." Kirk's eyes watered slightly, not with joy, not with relief, but with the weight of being caught in his own web. "I didn't want you to get hurt," he said, almost pleading. Rasheeda's voice rose. "But you've hurt me. You've been lying. And for what? So your image stays clean. So Kendra can what, protect herself." The words spilled out, uncontrolled, raw. Everyone in the room could feel the anger and betrayal radiating from her. The crew watched silently, some holding their breath, others leaning slightly to capture every moment. The cameras were rolling, though no one dared touch them. This was not a scene. This was real, and everyone knew the consequences of every word. Mendeecees finally stepped closer, his voice firm. "Rasheeda, I'm not here to make this worse. I just want the truth out." She turned to him, eyes blazing. "The truth. The truth is, he betrayed me. All of them betrayed me. And you sat there and let it happen?" Mendeecees shook his head. "I tried to stop it. I warned him." Kirk flinched at the word warned. "Warned? You warned me?" "Yeah. After the fact. After everything happened." he muttered, but no one heard him. The focus was on Rasheeda and Mendeecees. Now, Rasheeda's phone buzzed again. A reminder of the voice note that had ignited this entire confrontation. She held it up, replaying it in front of Kirk. "Listen to this. Tell me this is not true. Tell me these are lies." Kirk's face paled. He couldn't speak. The words were damning. Every sentence in the clip confirmed what she already suspected but had hoped wasn't real. "I can explain," Kirk stammered. "I should have told you sooner. I wanted to protect you from the mess." Rasheeda cut him off. "Protect me? From the truth? From reality? How is hiding the reality protection? You call that love?" Kendra's eyes filled with tears. She stepped closer to Rasheeda, almost desperate. "Rasheeda, please. I never meant to hurt you. I was just trying to keep things calm." Rasheeda turned her glare toward Kendra. Calm. For who? Calm for Kirk. Calm for you. What about me? What about my life? My marriage? My trust? Her words echoed in the empty corners of the studio. Silence stretched long enough that it felt almost painful. Then, unexpectedly, Mendeecees spoke again, his tone now carrying something heavier, sharper. "Rasheeda, there's more. This isn't just about the messages or the voice notes. There's a reason this is happening now. Kirk didn't just lie to you about this. He involved someone else. Someone who should have never been involved." Rasheeda froze, the weight of that statement sinking in. Her hands trembled. Kirk shifted, uncomfortable. Kendra's face paled. The room seemed to shrink around them all. "Who?" Rasheeda asked, her voice barely controlled, trembling with a mixture of anger and fear. Kirk's throat tightened, and he finally said, It's complicated. You don't need to know everything." Rasheeda slammed her hand on the table, making everyone flinch. "I need to know everything. You owe me that." The room went deadly quiet. The tension was so thick it could have been sliced with a knife. Mendeecees nodded. "Rasheeda deserves to know everything. Kirk and Kendra, this is your chance to come clean. The more you hide, the worse it's going to get." Kirk ran his hands down his face, looking at Kendra for support. Kendra shook her head slowly. "I can't," she whispered. Rasheeda's eyes narrowed. Can't? After everything? After months of lies, threats, and secrecy? You're saying you can't tell me the truth?" Kirk opened his mouth, then closed it again. "It's complicated," he said finally. "I didn't know how to stop it." Rasheeda's laugh was sharp, bitter. "Complicated? My life is complicated. My marriage is complicated. What you did was betrayal." A long silence followed. Everyone in the studio could feel the moments. "I trusted you, Kirk. I trusted you with everything. And this betrayal is something I will not forgive lightly. If you think I'll sweep it under the rug for appearances, you are mistaken." Kirk's lips quivered. "Rasheeda," she shook her head, cutting him off. "Save it. Words don't fix broken trust. Actions do. And the actions I'm seeing right now are not enough." Mendeecees stepped closer to the edge of the circle. "This is the reality of hiding the truth," he said, voice firm. "You can't control how it comes out, only that it will. And now it's out. It's too late to go back." The weight of his statement settled over the room like a physical presence. Kirk's shoulders slumped. Kendra's tears fell freely. Rasheeda's eyes burned with determination, rage, and heartbreak all at once. The storm had fully arrived, and no one in that room would ever forget it. The phone buzzed again. A new message. Rasheeda ignored it. She had all the confirmation she needed. Kirk's mistakes, Kendra's secrecy, Mendeecees' intervention. The chain reaction had begun. The next hours, the next conversations, the next confrontations would only deepen the divide. The family, once a unit in the public eye, now fractured irreparably. Every friend, every fan, every castmate would witness it. The drama was no longer rumors. It was real. The tension did not ease as the hours passed. Kirk remained frozen, unable to speak without Rasheeda cutting him off. Kendra stayed close, but there was a growing distance between her and everyone else. Like she was an outsider trapped inside a storm she had helped create. Mendeecees leaned against the wall, observing everything, his calm demeanor a sharp contrast to the chaos swirling around them. He had said what needed to be said, and now he watched as the truth began to unfold in real time. Each glance, each twitch, each tear revealed more than words ever could. Rasheeda paced slowly, her heels clicking like a metronome, keeping time with the tension. She had already replayed the voice note multiple times. Each time, it felt sharper, heavier, as if the words were puncturing her chest. Kirk followed her movements with helpless eyes, wishing he could undo the moment. But knowing deep down that the past could not be undone, he tried to reach out to her, but she flinched each time his hand approached. A silent signal that she had already erected walls too high for him to scale. "You've kept this secret for months," Rasheeda said, her voice steady now, cold, almost surgical in its precision. Every lie, every half-truth, every omission, it's all because of you. Kirk swallowed hard, trying to defend himself. Rasheeda, I didn't want this to happen. I wanted to fix it before it got. She interrupted, her glare cutting through him like glass. Fix it. Fix it. You call hiding everything fixing it? You've been living a double life, and you thought I wouldn't find out. Do you even understand the damage you've caused? Kendra, still trembling, whispered, Rasheeda, please. But Rasheeda did not hear her. Her focus was only on Kirk. You think this is just about me finding out? She continued. This is about every friend, every family member, every fan who trusted you, every lie you told about us, about your marriage. It all comes crashing down now. Kirk shook his head, desperate, his voice rising. I tried to protect you. Rasheeda laughed, sharp and bitter. Protect me, from the truth, from reality? Kirk, what you did isn't protection. It's betrayal. Pure, calculated betrayal. Mendeecees finally spoke, stepping closer. Rasheeda, he's hiding more. You deserve to hear everything. It's not just what's been leaked. There's more beneath it all. Rasheeda turned toward him, her expression a mixture of curiosity and wariness. What do you mean? Mendeecees paused, letting the weight of the moment sink in. Kirk didn't just lie. He involved others. He made decisions that affected everyone around him, and now it's unraveling. The secrecy was dangerous, and now you see why. The room fell silent. Kirk's face paled, and Kendra's eyes filled with tears. Rasheeda's hand trembled slightly, but her resolve did not waver. So this is it, she said, her voice calm but lethal. The truth comes out, and we see the real Kirk, the real Kendra, the real story. Everyone can see it now. The words hung in the air like smoke, choking the room with their intensity. Suddenly, the phone buzzed. A new voice note. Rasheeda pressed play, and the familiar voice filled the room. It was clear, confident, and sharp. Mendeecees' words again, this time with more detail than before. He described Kirk and Kendra's decisions, their omissions, the hidden promises, the lies that had spiraled into something unmanageable. Rasheeda's eyes widened with each revelation. Kirk's shoulders slumped further. Kendra's hands covered her face. This is worse than I imagined, Rasheeda muttered under her breath. The words were barely audible, but everyone in the room felt their impact. She looked at Kirk, her gaze penetrating. And you expected me to trust you after this? After all of it? Kirk opened his mouth to answer, but the words failed him. The truth was too heavy. He had no defense, no shield against the raw, unfiltered reality of his actions. Mendeecees observed quietly, knowing that the confrontation was far from over. Rasheeda, you have the right to be furious. You have the right to walk away. But I needed to tell you. You deserve clarity. Rasheeda's eyes softened slightly, not with forgiveness, but with understanding. Clarity, she repeated. Clarity doesn't fix betrayal. Clarity doesn't undo lies. Clarity just shows the full extent of the damage. Kendra's voice broke through the tension. Rasheeda, I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I was helping. Rasheeda's gaze snapped to her, sharp and unforgiving. Helping? By lying, by hiding the truth, by letting everything spiral out of control. Kendra shook her head, tears streaming. I thought I was keeping peace. Rasheeda laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. Peace? There was never peace. There was only deception. The weight of the conversation pressed down on Kirk. He realized that every word, every secret, every decision had led to this exact moment. The room, the confrontation, the exposure, it was all a result of his choices. He looked at Mendeecees, hoping for some relief, some support, but the calm, steady gaze he received offered no comfort. I warned him, Mendeecees said quietly, almost to himself. He ignored it. Rasheeda stood still for a moment, processing everything. She had defended Kirk in public, excused his actions, tolerated rumors, and now she faced the raw, undeniable truth. The betrayal was complete. The secrets, the omissions, the hidden manipulations, all of it had created a fracture in their marriage that might never heal. She realized that forgiveness would require more than words. It would require action, accountability, and a reckoning. Kirk tried once more to speak. Rasheeda, please, I can fix this. I'll do whatever it takes. Rasheeda's expression hardened. Fix this? Do you even know what it takes to fix betrayal? It's not just apologies. It's exposure, transparency, consequences. It's the truth, laid bare, without excuses. Kirk's hands trembled. Kendra reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder, but Rasheeda did not flinch. She had made her decision to face the truth, no matter how painful. Mendeecees finally stepped back, giving space. The truth doesn't need protection anymore, he said. It's out. And now everyone has to deal with the consequences. Kirk's shoulders slumped, and he felt the full weight of accountability pressing down on him. Kendra's tears fell silently. The room filled with a heavy, oppressive tension that no one could break. Outside the studio, fans began gathering, sensing that something monumental was unfolding inside. Rumors had already leaked online, and social media feeds exploded with speculation. The intensity of the confrontation inside reflected in the chaos outside. Everyone wanted answers. Everyone wanted to witness the fallout. Everyone wanted to see who would emerge from the storm intact and who would be broken. Rasheeda finally sat down. Gathering her thoughts, she had listened, absorbed, confronted, and now she was ready to act. Kirk and Kendra remained standing, unsure of what the next step would be, unsure of how to navigate the storm they had created. Mendeecees remained calm, observing the fallout with the quiet authority of someone who knew that the truth, once revealed, had a power of its own. How would Rasheeda move forward? Could she ever trust Kirk again? Would Kendra find redemption? Or would her role in the drama define her forever? And most importantly, how would the public react as they dissected every word, every gesture, every tear from this explosive revelation? Fans are shocked, buzzing across platforms, replaying every clip, analyzing every interaction, and debating who is in the right and who is to blame. Opinions are split, arguments flare up, and hashtags trend worldwide as viewers weigh in on what happened. Some sympathize with Rasheeda, seeing her as the embodiment of resilience, strength, and a refusal to tolerate betrayal. Others try to understand Kirk's perspective, debating whether human error and fear justify the choices that led to this explosive exposure. And somewhere in the midst of it all, Kendra's story adds layers of complexity, challenging fans to consider the consequences of loyalty, secrecy, and the price of trying to keep peace in a storm that could not be contained. The drama has already spilled beyond the confines of the studio. Clips of the confrontation circulate on social media, news outlets pick up the story, and viewers can't get enough. Every message, every comment, every repost fuels the fire. The family, once a symbol of unity, is now a reflection of real human complexity. Love, betrayal, loyalty, anger, and heartbreak interwoven into a narrative that feels almost too dramatic to be true. But in the world of celebrity, reality and drama are inseparable. The question everyone is asking now is not just what happened, but what comes next. Will Rasheeda walk away forever, reclaiming her life from the shadow of deceit? Will Kirk find a way to make amends? Or is it too late for redemption? And will Kendra face the consequences of her choices? Or will she fade into the background as the scandal unfolds? There are no easy answers. Every decision has ramifications. Every word spoken, every secret exposed. Every confrontation shapes the narrative that the public is now dissecting in real time. The family was left divided, their private lives now public theater. And the stakes have never been higher. For viewers, the allure lies not just in the scandal itself, but in watching how each individual navigates the fallout. It's the drama, the raw emotion, and the unfiltered human reactions that keep audiences captivated. The story doesn't end with the revelation, it only intensifies as fans speculate about reconciliation, retaliation, or the permanent fracture of relationships that once seemed untouchable. And that's why we want to hear from you. What do you think will happen next? Will Rasheeda forgive Kirk? Or has the betrayal crossed a line too far? Can Kendra find a way to redeem herself? Or is she too entangled in the fallout to emerge unscathed? And what about the influence of Mendeecees? Was exposing the truth the right choice? Or did it escalate the drama beyond control? Every comment matters. Every opinion adds to the conversation. Your voice becomes part of the story that is still unfolding, the story that continues to grip fans and viewers alike. So take a moment to share your thoughts. Let us know how you feel about the confrontation, the secrets revealed, and the choices made. Do you side with Rasheeda, seeing her as a symbol of strength and truth? Do you sympathize with Kirk, understanding the pressure and fear that led to mistakes? Or do you feel for Kendra, caught in a situation she never fully anticipated but nonetheless played a part in? Your perspective is valuable, and it helps create a community where fans can dissect, debate, and engage with the drama in real time. After all, it's not just about watching the story, it's about being part of the conversation, part of the unfolding narrative that has captured attention around the world. If you want to keep up with every twist, every turn, every explosive revelation, make sure to stay connected. Like the video to show your support, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a moment, and hit the notification bell to get updates instantly. Your engagement keeps the discussion alive, helps uncover new insights, and ensures you're always at the center of the conversation. Every share, every comment, every reaction adds to the story. amplifying the drama and keeping fans involved in every shocking development. The truth has been revealed. The confrontation has shaken the foundations of a family once thought untouchable, and the fallout is just beginning. The choices made in secrecy have finally met exposure, and the consequences will continue to unfold in ways that fans, viewers, and even the family themselves could never have anticipated. Your opinion matters, your voice is heard, and your engagement fuels the drama that keeps the story alive. So dive in, share your perspective, and join the conversation as this scandal continues to evolve. The truth is out there, the emotions are raw, and the next chapter is waiting for those who dare to follow the story to its shocking conclusion. Now, it's your turn. Comment, like, subscribe, and let your voice be part of the story. The drama isn't over, and the world is watching. Are you ready to see what happens next?